We know it's not glow. Simple as that. We're on the same side. Just, you know what I'm
Yeah, brother. I'm Dave.
Thank you. No, you're another Dave.
What's your name, Dave?
Yeah,
All right.
Yeah,
All
we're on the same side.
right.
That's the key, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Well, you lot are fresh down there.
No, I lived
How long have you been coming down to about flat Earth?
I lived for 12 years actually.
Denying the globe Earth. How long have you been down there talking about it?
Actually, not very long.
Exactly, that's what I'm trying to get at. Look, I'm trying to establish something.
How long have you been coming down for a while?
Ask him, I've been there for over 3 years.
On the flat Earth?
On
Talking on flat
2
Earth.
years.
Okay, because I might have seen some of your content then. I've seen people down there before.
I know how to deal with the speakers called as lock. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, Dave.
Yeah, and I saw when the first wave came down with Dave.
Yeah, Murphy.
Dave,
Yeah.
The legendary Dave.
Yeah.
And I thought, that obviously they knew how to get us back up when they were speaking.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm trying to say. You have to know how to deal with the lockdown
Well-
here when you're dealing with the flat.
I just got my back up. I lost control of it as well. Yeah, I just
This is what I'm saying.
But this guy over here, he's been winding me up all day.
Well, that's his job.
You fucking
There's another guy down there called Ian as well.
Yeah, but good learning for me. Good learning for me.
But the thing is, you got to understand how to do it.
Is it agent number 5? Is it? Is this double time for you to do? Training.
I tell you,
You get paid double
who's
time?
that guy up Scotland who goes around to the people on the street? What's his name?
Oh, Dell or him, because it's him. John Smith, Globalite. That's him. It's either him or Dell. There's only two guys.
He's got a channel and he's got dead kind of thing.
He's an angry man.
No, he's a nice guy. The way he goes about it is very good because obviously he's very generous.
No, I wasn't there now.
It may be you and him, I don't know.
We both do.
Yeah, maybe it's you two, yeah. But basically, I like the approach what you go at because obviously it's a bit more passive and you got obviously, yeah, some people can't digest it straight away. It's very hard. It's very hard for them to like take them forward, just like it was hard for all of us to take them forward initially. So we got. Brilliant for you, but a lot of people, I mean, for me initially when I first heard it,
Took months.
shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I've done my research and within 6 months easily was,
Yeah.
I understood
Yeah.
it's logical.
Yeah.
But you understand, there's people who don't understand that. And people here especially are gonna have their backs up 100%. You've got to know how to kind of easy and align with them. Yeah, just align because they're coming to the place where, there's a lot of threat.
Not everybody here is genuine. People are here to be Asian
Provocateurs, yeah, like Steve.
I quite like him actually.
Well, with that, you just enjoy the banter. You just got to play banter with it. Yeah, when you realise that this person is a heckler, you just got to play banter with
It's just a
it.
learning process, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, I just want you all to kind of understand,
Yes.
the nature of this
Yeah.
down here.
Yeah. Move on.
That's great. It's a great education.
Yeah. Indeed.
You pick up loads of tips.
I need to. I do. I need to go and hit some people.
Yes, exactly.
I do.
Exactly. This is not like high
Yeah.
and they will challenge you just to be score points.
Yeah.
And some
Well,
people
it's
will be
also
quick.
Every time they come out.
Exactly. That's another thing. You have to stay focused on your point you're making.
Yeah, Dave.
Stick to the point, stick to the simple, clear facts, which nails home the fact that,
No spinning. Yeah, no curving.
you they have to think about it. Some people sounds ridiculous for them to believe that they believe that they're wrong.
I would also add.
No, never take nothing personally.
We're all learning. We're all learning.
They're just trying to trick you.
You know what you know at the same time.
Let me go and give this guy. Yeah, let me give this guy. Give us a hug, will you? Oh, look at it. Look here. Is he still bitching about being pushed around the speakers? It's all good fun. All right, Lee, nice one, my friend. Did you come back with a question? Do you mind if I carry on filming you? Oh, you have a question? Have you looked into it? Make Britain great again.
You had a point about the plane.
Yeah. Why don't you think we should see them like that?
No, because they're not that big. Like if you'd have been with me in here.
Oh yeah. No. I accept that. Obviously, you need to shrink it down to be smaller than a pixel on this scale, right? But then we wouldn't be able to show it to you. But the point is that if you were, say, on the International Space Station, you should be able to kind of fly around here a few times a day, and then actually take a photograph from underneath of the ball and see the planes doing that, and the ships, and the cars.
What do you mean?
Isn't this the big issue about gravity?
Well, yeah, but you see, that's the point where we get into sort of imagination, because we can agree that if you want, that gravity is the effect of the apple falling from the trees. Yeah, we agree that. I accept that. Cavendish, but why don't we repeat Cavendish? Waves, yeah. So they've used a machine, isn't that right? They call it, it's called LIGO. I mean, that's a lie in itself, just listen to the name. They use a machine to pick up a beep from the background of something that we then say. They're what?
What about the moon? You can see the moon, and that's a circle.
I can't. Yeah, I see like a circle, like a
Yes,
circle.
it's round.
That doesn't mean a ball. Round can mean like a frisbee.
Closely, you can see it one bit
Frisbee.
closer.
Frisbee. The beach. Dubai. Yeah. No, I've landed at Dubai. Yeah. Yes. Yes, because they see the sun go down last. I'll tell you something, that I saw 2 sunsets when in Dubai. Let me answer you. You've asked the question, I'm going to give you the answer. Firstly, I've seen 2 sunsets in the same day in Dubai. One when I was on the ground, and one 20 minutes after sunset, the plane, once I got up to above the clouds, there was the sun again. So that's simply about perspective, because the higher you are, the further you can see. That means, let me finish. So the further you can see, which means that if I'm down in a valley, the sun's going to set sooner than if I'm on top. You understand that? Yes? In a valley, the sun sets first. At the top of the mountain, the sun sets last. Right? Because you can see further the higher you go. So it's a simple matter of perspective. I'm not getting into whether, but now you're asking me to explain how the flat earth works when you're not even being willing to accept that you might not live on a ball. You've got to get to the point where you're willing to discuss it open-mindedly, but we're not yet there. When you're at the pay, I can't prove that I live on a ball that's spinning, and I can't find curving water. You can't prove that by saying I can see the sun. I just told you can see things further away the higher you go. So if you go to the top of the building, yes, of course you're going to see the sun last. But that doesn't, it's the same as the ship. You know, if you see the ship, go back to Dubai, the ship leaves the harbour and it goes over the edge of the curve. You see it go over the edge of the ball, right? And then you go into the Burj, you go to the top of the Burj, wow, you can see the ship for another hour. When it's not on any curve, it's still on a flat water. Think about it. Then you get on a plane and go over the Mediterranean, all the ships are on a glassy mirror. How far can the human see? It depends on the weather. It depends on how much, if it's raining, then less far. If it's clear, it's clear. Well, the world record photograph is 400 kilometers.
Really?
400 kilometers. And you can Google this. And over water.
Because
Of course, we can all imagine that, my friend. But if you know the formula for curvature, no. But you can test your own senses on this. You can take a high-powered camera and go and see things that you shouldn't be able to see.
The Earth is flat from your perspective.
The Earth is flat because water is flat.
Oh, you think the Earth is flat?
I know the Earth is flat. I don't think.
How do you know that?
Well, because I know that water is flat and level, and it's meant to be said to be 70% water. So that bit of the Earth that we know, the continents, they're sitting on a puddle of water. The land rises above the water, but sea level is the same on one side of the puddle as it is on the other side of the puddle. As simple as that. There is no 1,000-mile drop or 3,000-mile drop down to Africa.
Yeah, but like,
How high you go now? If
if you go up on space,
You can't go to space. Yeah. Well, now we're looking down. Have you ever done that?
I haven't.
No.
But there's loads of people that have.
Do you know anyone?
I don't personally know, but like astronauts that go up into space, and from space they take photography.
Yeah.
Using the same mechanics as
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah.
And then when you look down, it doesn't show it's around, not exactly around like a ball. It's a bit of a sphere, so it's like, yeah.
Okay. And have you ever seen them zoom in from the International Space Station? But have you ever seen any footage that makes you think that planes are upside down in Australia?
Sorry, I didn't understand what you mean.
Well, if we're on a ball,
Yes.
then the people on the top of the ball
Yes.
are flying on the upside, and the people on the bottom of the ball. So if you leave this airport, and you fly from here, you're going to fly down on a ball, right? Eventually, if you follow, you're going to get to the underside of that ball.
If it's a flat Earth,
Yeah.
is there an end to it?
There might be, but I don't know. I would expect that there might be. There's probably some sort of edge to hold the water in, because water just flows away if it doesn't have a bathtub.
So you think there's an end?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not trying to sell you on any model of the flat Earth. I'm trying to unpick from your mind the idea that you could live on a ball that spins and floats on a cushion of air. And time and what science says, time and space is what is being displaced, and that's why the Earth floats or sits on this displacement and goes around the sun while the sun moves at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I try, my friend. Beliefs are for the religious. People who think that gravity is a real thing.
What is your purpose of coming here? And
To wake you up, my friend. To give you from the sleep. We're all in a slumber. We're all in a slumber. And yes, we are. We are. And
so what is before slumber?
well, when you're born,
Are you not in a slumber? Are you awake?
maybe. But I know a lot more now at the age of 50 than I did at the age of 47 3 years ago. And no, at 47 I realized that I knew nothing, that I was a child, that my mind was like that of a baby, that I knew absolutely fuck all about the way that the world really works at 47. And I already had 2 children and had published a book. So I know, I'd been at university, I know, so this is not about me having some sort of academic shortcoming. This is about me realizing that all the academia, all the National Geographic that I'd hoovered up, all the BBC that I'd hoovered up, all those documentaries, they were all controlled information that was coming from either from people who don't know the difference between up and down, as we all do, or from people who know that they're selling us a lie. Yes. Why does that matter?
No, I was just wondering.
Why? You're wanting to make some sort of judgment on me. Let me tell you, my young friend, that I am a human being and as valuable as you and any other. You totally agree with that? So why working for taxes and voting for a government that enslaves people around
The government enslaves people, and
to all the laws that we live by without even realizing that they're optional? And we go along and become working slaves. Most of us will be working slaves, earning just enough to get by. Little, maybe it's something to pass on to the children. What we pass on to children will be taxed, and they will take that from the children as soon as they can. So this is the system that we live under. We'll actually go along with it because we end up sending our children to the same education system that we abhorred ourselves. And now I realize that all the science that was done back in the late 1800s and early 1900s that showed that Earth wasn't a spinning ball. It wasn't. There's Sagnac, Michelson-Morley, Airy's failure. These experiments you can go and Google yourself and go and look at them. They were peer-reviewed and accepted at the time that they could not prove. And for 30 years they're trying to prove that the Earth is spinning. Earth is flat, my brother. From coast to coast. You go from one coast, one sea level to the other. It's the same. And you go around and around in circles. Earth is flat. Well, there's an Antarctic treaty that prevents us from going anywhere from the 60th south.
You can go round the Antarctic and you're not going around.
No one's ever gone this way around, you know, like north-south. No one's ever done that. We can't prove that we can go in one side and come out the other side of that.
If you go round the Antarctic,
Yeah.
how is it around you? If you're going around it.
Well, imagine if it's like a clock, and you are on the inside of the clock, and your north pole is the spindle where the arms of the clock are working from. That's your north center, and all your yeah, on the outside, yeah. And a guy called Captain Cook. Well, a guy called Captain Cook claims to have done 63,000 miles around that. So that's possible. It could be psyop, could be bad information. But Captain Cook is apparently a real character, and apparently he really did this. But yeah. No. Remember, I'm not making the claims. Now you're asking me to make claims that I'm not making. I'm not saying anything about edges. I'm not saying anything about how it works beyond what I can see. I can experiment that water always lays flat, and I can see over 50 miles that water's still flat, and everything that I see on the other side of that 50 miles is still there when it should be behind 2,000 feet of curvature. So I know that I can test those things for myself. I accept that I can't see the edge.
You can sit on the shores of Britain and see another country.
What, you mean like Ireland? You can see that. Yeah? What about, yes, you can see France. Yes, you can see France.
Clear day.
So what do you mean the ball becomes more curved on a less clear day or something? It's there because you can see it because on a clear day there is not enough water. There's not so much water in the atmosphere.
To the west, why can't I see America?
That's a bit far. I mean, you said to yourself you can't see 30 miles.
You can see into space, isn't that a bit far?
How do you know that's space? How do you know that's not just 20 miles up, 30 miles up? Do you know what? Yeah. That's only 5 or 10 miles.
5 or 10 miles. And you can still see there's a lot.
Yeah. But at 10 miles, the plane's already tiny, right? When we see the plane from the ground, it's already tiny. So actually, we can't know what's beyond 20, 30 miles up from us. And when you go and look into the rocket program, you realize that most of that what they're selling us as satellites is stuff that they hang off balloons. The rocket program isn't going into space. The moon, when you look at the moon. Yeah. The magnification. Yeah. Well, here's the thought, right? Here's the thought for you. People have started doing this with their telescopes, is that they're pointing them down at the ground to see how far they can see along the land. But that's because the telescope's not very powerful. The telescope, actually, that's the trick. Let me, you take
really powerful telescopes.
Yeah, you take the best telescope you want and take a stop sign, right, and try and resolve that. You'll struggle. I'm saying to try and bring that into focus, just at 10 miles away.
You could.
Go and look at the internet. The guys are doing that, and they're going, no, my telescope can't see.
Get a telescope and do that.
All right, do that. All right, please do. Do that. And see anything of detail inside of their flat. You can see the building, but that's only 10 miles away. Because we're talking about distance and how much you can see. Do you know what's the formula then? If there's curvature bending down from you, what's the formula for measuring that curvature?
The higher up you are, it's going to take longer to disappear.
Really? You would think that as part of our education, we'd be taught how to calculate the amount of curvature you would need to consider when you're going from one place to another. Because if you're saying from here to another place, a certain amount, you must be able to measure that, right?
I can't work it out. Because, you know,
You can't, but they say you should be able to measure 8 inches in the mile squared.
yeah, that's half
When you
of
try
the
and you do that math, hold on, no, but 8 inches in miles squared, right? So over 100 miles, that's 100 times 100, which is 10,000 times 8, which is 80,000 inches.
No, I don't believe
80,000 inches over 100 miles. You should have a drop. That's a lot of injury.
that is supposed to. So if we're facing, well, I don't believe that. So half it's so if there's any sort of
Water should be level or bending.
flows around us.
Yeah, we've done those experiments. So if you go and look online, there's a website called FE Core, and we're doing a lot of laser experiments and other sorts of experiments to measure curvature as whether or not we can find. So FE Core is the name of the website. Level where they prove. Back in the 1800s, rowboats proved that there was a mile where there should be more than 8 foot of drop. They could see that. Well, there's no curvature. So if your common sense says, well, if there's none over 10 miles, then there's probably none over 50 miles, and there's probably none over 100 miles. Why should I just accept, because you say that it's now starting to curve? If you say it, prove it. And we never knew whether Earth was curved until the rocket program could conclusively go and prove that.
I'm suggesting that are anomalies that don't make sense to nation, and they haven't come forward to.
Why would they want to?
For instance, you cannot see things.
No, well, there should be curvature. It's not a matter of wanting to prove it. It's that if you're contending that we live on a spinning on a ball, we should be able to measure that curvature of that ball because it's a sphere. You're not thinking of it as a ball. That's right. No. 70% is water. 71% is water. Yeah, and so. No, you can't. No, you can't, my friend. Say that again.
You have to put something in,
Think about it like this.
we can't try and have a look.
Think about it like this. The bottom of a lake, right? It's got all undulations on the bottom of the lake, but the surface is perfectly flat. Right? That's what we see on a lake. You can take the biggest lake in the world, and it freezes over once a year, or not the biggest lake, but a big lake 300 miles long, Bilikal in Russia, it freezes over, and it's perfectly flat. So your common sense says that 300 miles is flat, why not 500 miles? Why not all of the oceans are flat, and that sea level is sea level, and that horizontal means horizontal. Yeah. Yes. And if some of those stones just poke out a little bit, those will be your land masses. Those will be your, and then you could take a little boat. The Earth is not a spinning ball. No way, sir.
No experiments in space.
No, can't be proven. It has to be flat. It has to be flat. Water is flat.
Why you don't see that building full height of that building?
Well, because of something called perspective, sir. If you went up higher, you would see all of it. And the closer you went, you would see all of it. But the further away, you see less of it, right? That's called perspective. You think about a mountain. The further it away, you see eventually none of it.
This one's flat.
Yeah.
You can see no. But if it's round, you can see part of it. If it's flat,
Yeah.
you can see the whole.
Okay, look over here, sir. You see those people walking away in the distance? Do they look the same size as they stand here, or are they small? They look smaller. So you realize that perspective means that the further something away, the smaller it gets. Yes? This building here, if we go 5 miles that way, that building looks like this. We go 100 miles that way, we don't see that building. That's perspective. And it's flat.
Islam has been
Since 1400 years, right?
Yes.
If you get
So they say.
Islam, right? If you get copy of the Quran, that's like 1400 years ago, it will be exactly the same as the one we have now. It says in Quran, sun rises and sun shines.
Yes, yes.
So the sun rises not one side.
rising everywhere.
Yeah.
And it says that the mountain that you see is turning.
Hold on. Let me just take you back to you said the sun rises.
Like sunrise.
Sun rises.
So many places like this. So
Yeah.
it rises here.
Yes.
and goes there.
So you see what we're saying there? We're saying is that the sun is rising, not the earth.
Yeah, of course.
So it's the sun that is moving, not me.
No problem. Keep
Yeah?
on, keep on.
So the earth is stationary. The earth it cannot move. The Old Testament says that the earth does not move and that God created the earth on the first day. On the fourth day, He created the moon and the sun. So they're small and they go over the top of the earth. That's how it...
Excuse me, let me explain. When I say rises, I mean plural. I mean not only one place to
Yes,
rise.
I agree. It rises for each of us. No, each of us. No, each of us is our own universe.
I mean it rises here, when the sun down, then it goes rises elsewhere. Years ago. And then it says you see the mountains, they look like stationary, but they run like clouds. This is what it means that
Right.
the mountains are there. You believe in it.
Right.
If you like to learn more, just find
So but I think that the Bible and the Quran, both of them, are books that were designed partly to teach you about yourself, but also partly to enslave your mind, to keep you under control, and so you never of you. The divine creator, human experience, created you one experience where people hate each other, they don't like each other, they want to fight. They're my religion, my color, my.
Our grandma in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
Adam's grave, I mean, this is, I don't say you believe in this grave.
Yeah.
If you go to Iraq,
Yeah.
that's called Najaf. The grave of Adam, our father. So Father Adam, Mother Eve are there. We are brothers.
Yes.
So don't say hate me.
Yeah. But then why would we have competing religions? Because Christianity and Islam are competing. No, they're designed so that humans can't fight each other until the death. They want us to fight. Because they use Catholicism, they use Christianity to go across the world, and they use Islam to go and have wars across the world, and so they use these as means of control. Absolutely. I know it may mean peace, my brother, but actually what I see is a lot of fighting. So it's the same. The Christians will say, "Oh, Christianity is a religion of peace." Fuck off! It's not a religion, people. Then almost than anything else I can think of, you know. Yes, the two brothers. I know a little bit about it. Ahmed, yeah. That's the story. Yeah, that's the story. But they create the dialectic, the blue and the reds. You see, they want to fight the Shia and the Sunni. They want to keep you fighting so that you're never happy, that you're never one brotherhood, that you never come together. There is a power grid that is trying to control all of us.
But the common sense says
All of us.
we should live together in peace.
Yes.
So find the
And love.
Fine. Buddhism,
No. Well, know thyself. I think all religions say, if you in Islam it says if you want to know the Creator, if you want to know God, you'll find Him closer to you than the jugular vein in your neck. And in Christianity they say the temple of this is your temple. You know, the temple of God is up in here. So I say that the Creator, and you should be the opportunity to express the Creator fully in this lifetime that you have here. But we have been made to be small. In Christianity, I can speak in Christianity, we've been made to seem like we are not important. And our government makes us seem like we're not important. And our science says that we're not important, we're just monkeys that evolved on a lucky strike ball, right? That's what we're told. And I say to you that it's not true, that it was actually created for us, that this is our creation, and we're meant to be having a wonderful, beautiful, lovely experience. What's happening in Syria though? Palestine. This is where they're going. It's all going. Yeah, it's politics, but it's politics, and we all vote for it. We're all having our energy stolen by the same system. Well, okay. Well, that's good to hear. But then, but this is part of that awakening. This is part
Imam
of that.
Hussein. It's called Imam Hussein. One person.
Yeah.
Grandson of Prophet. Alone, he stood against the
Thank you. Hey, have you got any questions? You sound Australian. Are you Australian? Oh, where are you from? Oh, yeah.
You're from Byron Bay or something?
I look like that, but I'm from London. No, I'm from South Africa. Oh, somewhere.
I know from South Africa. But you look like a Byron Bay.
Yeah. I'd love to go to Byron Bay, though. Have you looked into this at all? Oh, yeah? Have you had any traction? Hey, it's a flag! Congratulations. How long have you known that? All right, I'm 3 years in now. And it's getting better and better by the day. What's your name? Paul. Nice to meet you. Yeah, to that, eh, Paul? Yeah. Dad, he's a very clever man. Let me tell you, Dad is a very clever man. Very clever man. It took my wife. She's over there. That's my baby boy there, one of my children. It took my wife 2 years to birth, but so she's finally got there. You're a while to catch on. My wife, when she fully grasped this nettle about a year ago, it really did change things for her. She went for a long time, because I was saying for 2 years, it's really important, you've got to know this. And she's like, it's not that important. What difference does it make? Which is what so many people say. But actually, now that she's realized that and starts to realize her own significance on this plane, then it starts to free the mind, and you start to really trust your senses and start to trust her female or her chin a whole lot more. And there's all these sorts of things that are having a really positive effect on her, now this part of her knowing. So now we went back and had another child. Our oldest is 19 in university, and the other's 17, and now we've got this baby.